Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Monday. One of the biggest Mondays. We're on the eve of Texas football, spring football opening up tomorrow here on the 25th. We also have Pro Day, NFL Pro Day tomorrow. Cody, they're going to have it. They're going to have Pro Day live on SEC Network tomorrow.
Welcome to the big time.
I mean, it's kind of nice, right? It's kind of nice. I'm not sure LHN was ever there covering the event, but of course, whenever you have as many participants as Texas will have. And I just got back home from working out, so I'm not sure if they've sent the email about the
biggest news, though, is that, they're going to have the SEC network kind of, putting a big shine on the bubble, right? That's the big thing, right?
So here, I just did get the list of players, and of the players who are going to be there, there wasn't anybody who we said might be there. Or I guess last week we talked about guys who we thought would be combine participants. There's not anybody that's a surprise participant. I don't think that. Oh, there is one surprise participant. Do you want to guess who it is?
Non-Texas player?
No, he's a Texas player. Yeah.
Do I get a little bit of a hint?
He's on offense. He only played at Texas for one season, this last season.
Velton Gardner.
Yes. Okay, so
I was like, wait.
Okay. Yeah, so we do have the Velton Gardner Pro Day, but it looks like it's going to be Kelvin Banks, Jahdae Barron. This is in alphabetical order: Maurice Blackwell Jr., Jaden Blue, Silas Bolden, Isaiah Bond, Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, Hayden Connor, Juan Davis, Quinn Ewers, Velton Gardner, David Benda, Matthew Golden, Gunnar Helm, Gavin Holmes, Jake Majors, Andrew Makuba, Bill Norton, Barron Sorrell, and Cam Williams.
So
I guess
22?
What?
That's 22.
Were you just counting them?
Yeah. But you said junior in there at the top. Was junior somebody?
Kelvin Banks Jr.
Okay, so 21 then, because you said Kelvin Banks Jr. and then another name, and I wasn't sure if you meant. I was like, who the hell's junior? But 21 then.
14 of these guys at the combine, so 7 that did not make it. So as far as we're going to talk about Boobie Feaster and the recruiting weekend and everything like that, and we'll bounce around from subject to subject here. We have a whole ton to get to, but just as far as you're expecting Matthew Golden to not probably do any drills, but certainly I would think he would do his on-field work after electing just to run the 40 and get out of Dodge there in Indy.
I would assume he runs routes for sure. Maybe.
Would you even jump if you were him?
When Ewers isn't the quarterback, maybe if he's at Houston right now and he runs that 4.29, he just kind of says, I'm done. But because he's got a quarterback there and a couple other receivers with him, I think he might want to go out there and, help and assist everybody else putting on a good day. Kind of, we hear that sometimes in pro days where guys are like, yeah, I want to go and I want to, go with my boys. I know Matthew Golden's only been there for a year, but go with my boys and kind of help everybody else get better as well and kind of elevate their draft stock. So I would bet he runs routes because he didn't at the combine.
But you would never jump if you were him, right? Or do bench.
I wouldn't do anything other than run routes.
Yeah, he doesn't need to at this point. Like they're going to bug him.
Bond, though?
What?
Bond, though?
But dude, if I were Isaiah Bond, I'd be going up to every scout, be like, "Hey man, do you want a 3-cone? Like you want an L drill here? You want to, I would be short shuttle, whatever you want, man. I'm here to do it." He needs to, like, dude.
Can I ask you a real question?
Yeah.
So I just right before we got on here, you probably didn't see it. I sent a text in our roster watch chat. Ricky White, receiver from UNLV, ran a 40 at his pro day today. And the video that came out was a 4.44. He ran a 4.61 at the combine. 4.44, right? 17
according to who?
Of a second faster. Again, that's not the official number. That's just what came out from like a TV analyst, like within the last half an hour. I'm assuming it's going to come in somewhere probably around 4.50. We're going to adjust to 4.55. It's really not going to be that big of a difference. Point is, we know that Isaiah Bond, and I've said this before, Isaiah Bond and Xavier Worthy are the only 2 players at the wide receiver position in the last 2 draft cycles to run 24 miles per hour or higher at the combine during the 40. Right? They each hit a peak speed of 24 or more miles per hour. The only two guys that do it at the receiver position. The difference is Worthy breaks the record. Bond runs a 4.39. Do you think Bond has been training the last 4 weeks on
How to
whatever
finish
part of
that thing.
the start, working on his start, and then he potentially comes in and really runs a 4.25 pro day speed?
You think it was the start? Because didn't he have a better 10-yard split than Golden?
He reached his top speed, which was, so let me pull it up here. So 10-yard split for receivers. Let's see here. It was Golden's was 149, Bonds was 151, 10-yard split.
So, I mean, okay.
And the peak
For some
speed,
reason I thought that he had it. For some reason I thought that Bond had Golden on the 10-yard. But that's pretty close.
yeah, but so there's only, 149 was the fastest. It was Golden, Jalen Royals, and Bashal Tootin had 149s. Point is though, Bond hits that top speed. If he can get that, so if he gets the 10-yard split down to 149, let's say, and he reaches peak speed a little bit quicker, he could hypothetically get that thing from 4.39 down to a pro day 4.25. It's going to adjust up for a 4.30 for us, but the number would get tweeted out instantaneously from the Texas Longhorn account. 4.25 for Bond. Could you see this happening?
I mean, I kind of hope it doesn't, because I'm going to look down at my stopwatch and be like, can I even report this?
Yeah, I'm going to text you. I'm going to be texting you. I'm going to be like, Alex, who's running? Who's up? You're going to be like,
Because you know how it goes, Cody. You know how it goes. You can be at a weird angle. You can get a weird time. You can do all this. And next thing you know, I have to, at these pro days and stuff like that, at these events, I say like, look, this is hand timed, unofficial. I was at a weird angle, but this should give you an idea of the time that the scouts are going to, that the scouts are going to come to. It's probably going to be somewhere in a range close to around here. Yep. But if I look down at my watch, it's some kind of 4.22 or something, I don't know what I'm going to do.
You're going to go, well, I did this exact thing last year. We timed Worthy at 4.2. we were nails last year for Worthies.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I don't know. So yeah, does Bond have does Isaiah Bond have the most to gain? Gunnar Helm.
Well, yeah, Gunnar Helm is the one that, if he's healthy, we'll see. You're going to learn right away, I think, when you show up what Gunnar Helm's going to be doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Gunnar Helm would be number 1. Bond would be number 2.
I mean, Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton, they got to run and stuff, don't they?
They could have good workouts too.
Yeah, they got to do all that stuff. Makuba probably he'll just do his on-field stuff. Cam Williams could maybe help himself just by going through a workout.
So guys that we have no 40s from: Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, Hayden Connor, Jake Majors, Cam Williams, Quinn Ewers. I'm not expecting one from Cam or Jake. Probably not Hayden.
What? Hold on. Why not? Nothing from Jake Majors?
We don't have a 40 for him. We only have a bench.
You're not expecting a 40 from Jake Majors? I think he's the kind of guy that gets flossing and saying, I'm not running this thing. I'm good.
I think he's the kind of guy that knows he's not an athlete.
Oh, it doesn't matter. You got to run your 40. Are you healthy?
Why do you have to run the 40?
Because, dude, you're going to Cody.
He's an undersized, short-armed, unathletic center.
He didn't run it at the combine because he needed more time to do it at the pro day. And if he's not injured, that's just a really bad look. I mean, they're gonna say, if you're not running, you were set to run a 5.3.
You know what I would tell him? This would be my ignorance. I wouldn't do this, but hypothetically, I would. I would say, you know what? I'm never going to run 40 yards. I'll run a 10-yard split, and I'm stopping.
I mean, Jake Majors is going to need to do everything that he's healthy enough to do. And last I checked, there wasn't anything hindering him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he'll do everything.
You think Banks will run again? He ran a 5.16. He could definitely improve upon.
Where did that put him with the tackles? I've already forgotten. It's like that feels like I've already forgotten the stuff from the combine. I mean, certainly it's not, it's not as good as, the guys that were it's not as good as like Mimbu and the rest of them, right? It tested so well.
Yeah, so 5-1, well, 5-1, yeah, I did not put him anywhere near like the Membu area. Membu, what did Membu ran like a 4.8 something? 5.16 puts him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, eighth among tackles. Membu was a 4.91. 70 from Arizona was a 4.95. Will Campbell was a 4.98. Ursary was a 5.01. Josh Connerly was a 5.05. Carson Vincent was a 5.12. Banks was a 5.16. So, I mean, if he could get that thing down even like below 5.10, I think it would help him a little bit. I mean, I would love to hopefully you rub some elbows with some people that you know, or see some people you know, and that have a little bit of a purview on the real, or some differing thoughts on Banks, because I have twisted myself into numerous pretzels on numerous shows, not Orange Bud shows, other shows, about the Banks thing, with people continuing to bring up arm length and length and athleticism. And I read something, I was reading like a magazine. I'd get the draft magazines, and the magazines are like, well, Banks ends up on the ground a lot. Like, I just read all this crap that I'm just like, I don't understand. I
Yeah.
don't get it. It's not like this guy has like some off-field stuff that you can, you can take it and you can pile on and add in like, well, I saw him fall down once during this, BYU game, and you can like tell yourself some kind of false story. But when he comes in, and I'm just going to continue to say it, with the third longest wingspan at the combine, I think that neutralizes any question of short arms when his arms didn't come in short. So I would love to. I hopefully you get a little bit of insight from somebody, or somebody says something that you can hear tomorrow at the pro day. That'd be like the number one thing that I wish I could get some thoughts on.
So Football Junkie and Money B are in the chat, and look, we know we put Boobie Feaster on the recruiting stuff on the thumbnail, and we'll get to it. We have a whole hour show, man, so we have a bunch of stuff. But Football Junkie saying, do pro day 40 times even count? They've been off by miles lately, and Money B saying he has the same question. I mean, yeah, they count.
They just take, but the thing is, people. I think what they're saying is basically the reaction to like some of the stuff that's tweeted out right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just a mismatch of false information. If it's tweeted out within 10 minutes of it happening, it's wrong. And that's
right, because that comes from an agent.
That's
Like,
your most glaring error of sight, is if it comes out like in the middle of the day, it's wrong. It comes out at night or the day after the combine or the day after the pro day, then you're going to get a little more truth. If it's from an Albert Breer, Daniel Jeremiah, Ian Rappaport, Dane Brugler, things like this, you can believe it. If it's coming from some TV station, an agent, a team's, even like this is, again, Texas is doing great work, but even if it comes from the @Texas Longhorns account within 5 minutes of them running, that's not going to be the real number that the scouts use, because that's not.
The timing doesn't work for how that information has been disseminated.
Yeah.
It's like have we talked about this on the show about how a pro day works? It's so the way it works is,
we went over it a couple days ago on the Roster Watch show, but we didn't go over it here.
Okay, so here's how it goes. So the way pro days work is you get all the physical testing done first, right? The first thing you're going to do is the height and the weight and they're going to do arm lengths again, hand lengths, all the measurements, wingspan, all that stuff, right? And then they're going to bring them up to the very, very luxurious bubble. And then once they get there, they're going to start doing their actual like timing and their jumps and their lifts and stuff like that, right? And they'll start with bench, and the scouts will count the number that they get up on the bench, and then they'll go to the broad jump, they'll go to the vertical jump, all this stuff like that, right? All very easily verifiable stuff, because they'll jump and the scout will yell 39, and everybody knows, all right, so okay. Ryan Wingo just jumped 39 inches. Not Wingo. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, though.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Silas.
Silas Bolden just jumped 39 inches. Okay, so you write it down. and then and so after you're done with all those, then what it is there's a set of bleachers, and it's usually the same at every pro day, where it's probably 10 feet long, and it's 3 sets of bleachers, and right in the middle of it there's 6 scouts who are right on the 40, right on the end line. They have the perfect line right down the middle of it. Okay. Um, the but there are other scouts that are kind of, right there within, 10 feet of the line, right? All these guys are taking their times right there. It's the same thing. It's that same inline is the same inline for the short shuttle and for the long shuttle, right? So they get all those. Then they go over to do the 3 cone in a whole different area, right? Now, if at the end of all of that testing is when you start seeing them do the on-field work, right? That's just where you have a coach working out with Kelvin Banks, and he's holding the bag up and he's saying, all right, I want you to strike it with one hand and then I don't jog in place and, then strike with the other hand or something. You know these kinds of drills, right? They never know exactly what kind of drill they're going to get, because they never know exactly which coach or which scout is going to be working them out. Sometimes they'll know in advance, sometimes they won't, but they often won't know the exact drill that they're going to be asked to do. That's why during the combine testing, pro day testing, they go through a lot of this stuff. During that time, or between that time and the time when you've done the actual testing, all the scouts come together into a scrum. They all come into a scrum. And those 6 guys that were sitting in that one spot, they call out for every player, and they don't let the media go in there. I've tried a million times to go in there and sneak up in the scrum to hear what they're saying. They don't let you in. And they all go over their stuff, and they come to their consensus numbers, right? Like one guy will say, okay, for Bill Norton, I had him at a 5.42, or somebody will say, all right, well, I had him at a 5.39, and somebody will say, I had him at a 5.39, and somebody will say, like, I had him at 5.41, and they'll just say, like, all right, well, it sounds like we have him. It sounds like it's falling right there around a 5.4. So let's just have our consensus be at a 5.4. That was the pro day number. And then the guy from Green Bay that had a 5.38, he'll bring back his 5.38 to Green Bay, but he'll also say, but look, the 5.4 number was the pro day consensus number among all scouts. And what that does is it allows teams to keep their own numbers, right? Which a lot of teams will rely on their own numbers more than the consensus numbers. Heck, some teams rely on their own numbers more than the official numbers at the combine that are done by lasers.
We did hear that.
I mean, it's wild. But so if that generally doesn't happen.
And right before you get to that, say why they do that, though. People are going to probably think that's stupid, but the reason they do that from the combine even is because if it's the same person clicking the button for the combine as it is for the pro days.
Yes,
a good portion of them.
Yes.
So it's a standard number.
Yeah, so it's completely normalized across the whole thing. It's the same finger, the same eyeball, the same synapses through the same brain.
Yep.
It's usually about halfway through, right? So tomorrow pro day is from 1 to 4. So if you and 40s will be kind of, so if that's the case, 40s will be around 2:15, something like that. They'll be wrapped up with that stuff by 2:40. So if you start hearing at around 2:15, 2:40, 3:00, I think that there are probably people like Daniel Jeremiah who can text a scout there at the actual pro day that they'll text back,
and they might get something for a bond.
You know what I mean? I think there's like a Daniel Jeremiah type. It used to be a Gil Brandt type.
Yeah.
God bless him.
I bet Jordan Reed will be there. Jordan Reed, ESPN guy. He usually travels to all the SEC ones, so he'll probably be there as well.
Yeah. If you see something from like a Jordan Schultz or Ian Rappaport or somebody like this who's very, very well sourced among NFL agents, that comes out like right kind of as the 40s are being done, they are getting that from an agent. They're
before
getting that
3 o'clock.
What?
I said it before 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Predominantly.
And honestly, dude, I kind of think it's gonna take like no scout I know would ever get back to me during a pro day. They would wait till after the pro day, even if they're just watching on field drills. Like they're gonna be watching those drills. They're not gonna run it right back like, oh, he ran a 4.55. You know what I mean? I don't think.
Do you think like a Bond one for the example we brought up before? If Bond runs a 4.3, a 4.23, 4.24, and the Texas account tweets out 4.24, right? Something like this. There will be texts that could be had, and if a scout knows that, they might have if they have a source or something. It's a big pro day, so something's gonna come out immediately.
Well,
Whether
dude,
it's
we're gonna be there. We're gonna be there to
Silas
make sure.
4.3 or a Bond 4.2, something's gonna come out immediately, and
Yeah.
I just keep my eyes peeled.
We're going to be there to make sure that we have all the information for you guys from not only from the pro day, but will also have, thanks to Money B again for being here in the chat and for the creeping up near 600 of you guys that are here in the Specs chat line. It's Texas having practice in the morning. They are indeed. And they're going to give us a media window.
Double dip tomorrow for Alex.
What?
Double dip tomorrow for Alex.
Yeah, man. And I live too far out of town to come back home.
So you got a breakfast spot you're going to go to or a lunch spot?
Yeah, probably. There's a couple. I used to live right after. I used to live right after college over on the east side. There's a couple places right there by campus I could go that I like. I wonder if they're still open. But anyway, so yeah, we'll have all that covered. We'll have practice. So tomorrow will be just a great big show, man. We're gonna have a ton of action. We have a ton to get to today. I have a whole just treasure trove in my outdoor freezer from Texas Beef Traders. I mean, I every time I go into Texas Beef Traders, I can't leave without taking some stuff home. I was going through there last night, Cody, and I ended up just eating the tenderloin tips. They're my favorites, but I will say this: I was very, very tempted to try that hanger steak that I got a few weeks back. That thing looks amazing. Ever since the Chef Andrew Gruel tweet gate, wherever he said it was the best steak on the planet. I've really been wanting to try it. And there's no better place than Texas Beef Traders. Look, it's right there in the heart of Lakeway. You get 10% off whenever you tell them that you found them here on Football with Friends. There's no better place to go. These animals are elite. And we're talking bovine nutritionists on staff. This herd's never intermingled with anything. There has not been a syringe anywhere near these animals, not for any antibiotics, vaccines, steroids, none of this stuff. Where do you get your meat? I mean, are you sure that it's free of all that stuff? Look, if it's delicious, you're getting it from good people, you're getting it from great farms. I can't imagine not going to Texas Beef Traders. 3 different ranches, 1 location, fresh deliveries every Wednesday. What you get there is going to be fresh. It will have been processed 13 days ago. And the only reason that it's been 13 days there at the processor is so they can hang up the dang beef so they make sure that it's tender. It's for the flavor. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. Make sure and check them out. Obviously, we love them.
Can I tell you my Texas Beef Trader from the weekend?
Sure.
Iron table.
Wagyu.
Beef, bacon, Wagyu. Cooked it up, chopped it up, and we went over to our friend's house this weekend, and they have a uni, which is an outdoor pizza oven, and we made homemade pizzas.
Oh.
And your boy had a mozzarella and beef, bacon, Wagyu pizza.
Oh, dude.
Dude, fantastic.
Dude.
I also made a calzone, same way, but I mean, I had a carb-induced Sunday, courtesy of Texas Beef Traders.
Well, they didn't give you the carbs. That Wagyu bacon.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have done it if I wouldn't have had the beef bacon.
Do you know that Wagyu herd has proprietary bloodlines
to the Japanese Wagyu?
It's so I don't even know what that means. But it's like you have to have proprietary bloodlines to get into the Michelin star restaurants. It's just crazy, which they are. The Iron Table Wagyu. These are unbelievable herds. Texas beef traders. Okay. Uh, Nothing else from pro. Let's talk about Boobie Feaster. He's going to end up at LSU, right?
I think so. I mean, this has been months in the making. But here's the thing, and here's where it starts to get a little bit muddy. Is LSU had a couple of commitments over the course of the last week anyway. At receiver, they got Tristan Keys, one of the top receivers in the 2026 class. And last week they signed most recently they got Jabari Mack. Tristan Keys was last week. Jabari Mack was like on Saturday. So
Gosh,
two of the best.
How are they going to get? How are they going to get Keys and Feaster?
Well, if they get Keys and Feaster, that'll be pretty maniacal duo. Jabari Mack was another one though that like had Texas ties, so that's an interesting one that like the door's not closed on it, but he did commit to LSU. They also have Kenny Darby, who's the 33rd ranked receiver out there. He's a 4-star receiver, and Ja'Kai Anderson. So they have 4 receivers currently committed to LSU. Boobie, of course, in the conversation, and then A&M. Who the other one, they had another recent commit this weekend. They had Aaron Gregory on the roster. They had Madden Williams, and they most recently added Michael Brown, who is a legacy to Texas A&M. So both schools, A&M has 3, LSU has 4, and they're looked at as the leaders for Boobie Feaster. I've had a future cast, not that it matters. It's a fan future cast on Boobie Feaster to LSU for 2 months. And every time I talk to Jason about him, he says, well, yeah, he's LSU, he's LSU, he's LSU. But Jason still has a 30% Texas belief, however you want to word that, and his recruiting board that he updates every week now. And I don't like, I'd love to give Jason some truth serum and ask him like what that 30% means, really. Because it feels like right now it's like a 50-50 or a 60, 55-45, 55-50. Between LSU and A&M for Boobie. Regardless, it's going to hurt Texas fans. But what if Texas says, Boobie, you're our only receiver we're taking in 2026? Is that enough to do it, you think? Is that enough to get a guy that is at that level?
They are no.
I understand it sounds stupid, but you have to look at it from the kid's perspective. Like last year going through, and you had like the Decory Moore conversation and stuff. And I know Ketch doesn't view Boobie like Decory Moore. I get it. I think from a dynamism standpoint, 100% agree. And this is this is going to be a sidewinded thing here, but to the NFL's conversation this year with like Tedero McMillan, he's not a Jamar Chase. You could say Decory Moore is kind of a Jamar Chase ilk. There's a dynamic, field stretching, kind of do-it-all receiver, whereas like a Boobie is closer to a Tedero McMillan from Arizona, where he's just kind of like a little bit slower, more lumbering, giant catch radius, go above the rim and catch it, like type of situation. And when you look at the current, and when you go back to that class and you talk to a bunch of the recruits in the 2025 class, the reason they weren't considering Texas is because Texas was just bringing in all these guys from the portal. And it was like suffocating guys like Jonte Cook in the receiving room. And you kind of see how that all comes to fruition. Now you see all the portal guys, going to the draft. You see what Matthew Golden did, Isaiah Bond and stuff like this. And now you have that last year class with French, Lockett, McCutcheon, Terry. It's loaded. Wingo's there. It's a very youthful room. Maybe I could tell myself a story. I'm doing it right now. That because of the density of depth that you have in that 2025 group, you bring in one guy, and that one guy is this, build that Sark has said he's kind of making a focal point on. Sark has been usually looking at the smaller guys, the speedy guys. He said this last year that he's making kind of a focal point at looking at these bigger body guys, and that's kind of what Boobie is.
Okay, well, first, there's no way you could tell him he's the only one, because
Why
then
not?
are you just gonna tell Chris Stewart he's just done?
I mean, Chris Stewart is going to go where his brother goes. It feels like.
Well, I understand. You and I both
his
believe that, right? You and I both believe that,
And
but
Texas isn't going to offer his brother, so I don't know.
And I just think that they're
And also hypothetically think about this. The Boobie thing's not going to happen.
that
It's
just
not
that
going to
that's
ever be totally
that isn't
wrapped
a
up
Sark
until November, December.
that's I just don't think it's a Sark culture thing. I think the only position that you can do that would be at quarterback, and even that seems like, you know what I mean? That even seems something like, well, I was like, dude, if we have to tell you you're the only one, what does that say about your confidence and the way that you're going to be able to take on competition and stuff?
It's not about that to me.
Well, what's it about? Just the money? I get the idea that Texas doesn't think that Boobie Feaster's worth as much as he's going to be wanting.
Probably not.
Well, what do you think about Boobie? Like, I mean, you just said you think he's more of a Ted McMillan. You typically don't. You're not as big a fan of that archetype. I
I'm not.
mean,
But I mean, that's from the NFL perspective. From a college perspective, I think you can dominate in college, being built how Boobie's built. Like we saw it with Mike Evans for how long. These guys, I mean, Tedero McMillan's a prime example. The guys win in this way. T. Higgins at Clemson. Like you can win in any facet in college. And the NFL is a little bit different. And I watched Boobie a year ago. We're going to see him here in a couple of months, hopefully again at the Rivals 5-star. And when you watch Boobie, hopefully you get to go, or hopefully you come to wherever the Rival 5-star is at this summer, and we get to watch Boobie because I think you're going to love him. I truthfully think you're going to love him. I came away and told you Jamie French was a pro-ready guy. Like I think he could lace it up on Sunday and like not start, but he could play meaningful reps in the NFL like this year because of his route running and stuff like this. I think Boobie's a guy that's like really close to being able to go do that. Not start, not dominate, but like go play football at the top level. Like from a maturity standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, it sounds stupid. You're talking about this high school kid that just reclassified. You're talking about seniors in high school playing at the. I understand what I'm saying, but I'm telling it's more of like a advancement compliment than anything, or growth compliment than anything.
I mean, I think Boobie Feaster's great. I've watched his highlights, but I don't think he could walk into an walk onto an NFL field and be able to play right now.
I didn't say start. I just said like walk on there and play. You're talking. I mean,
if you think that he's that level of player, then maybe he would be worth the money.
But he's also got this. He's got a name.
He comes with a lot of fanfare. He
Yeah.
comes with, like, I was talking to the people with, and I kind of have a take on Mike Brown, the Texas A&M guy. But I
haven't watched him since like last summer.
From being out at that event and stuff, and just talking to some of these other, like, and no one, no real sources or anything, just other recruiting guys and stuff like that. They, they were saying stuff like, recruiting guys from other sites or other schools, I mean, there's a bunch of different people there that I'd never met and I was just talking to. And I was asking about Boobie Feaster, and they're like, man, well, they're like, he's got a cool name, and everybody knows him, and he's been accessible with going to camps and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of exposure to him. People have seen him a whole lot. He reclassified. People got to be really excited about that. So he's coming into this 2026 reclassification with a way that he's going to be expecting to have he's going to be expecting kind of the red carpet stuff and the NIL money and all the rest of it. And I think Texas thinks that, from what I can gather, Texas thinks the guy's good, but are we going to are we going to the mattresses for this? Right? Is that the term? Like the old gangsters used to say,
Yeah.
like, let's go to the mattresses and make sure, like, are they going to really just, is this what they're going to be doing? And I think that they think, man, there's a lot of good players out there. Would you think that they're foolish for having that kind of?
I think you talk to somebody that doesn't like him. Sounds to me like you talk to somebody that's kind of like, nah. I don't get the hype. I don't get the hype. I think that's someone that doesn't either know what they're looking at, or in that type of a receiver, or there's someone that just doesn't value what he brings to the game, which I think is bass backwards, because I believe in college more so, like you said before, like generally my prototype and a receiver, especially at the NFL level, is the archetype 5'10" to 6 foot, 190 to 205. I want the dynamism. I want you to run a sub 4.45. I want you to have big hands. I want you to be stocky. I want you to be dynamic, be able to do everything across the entire field. But in college, there's multiple ways to win. And what Boobie brings is a Ted McMillan, a T. Higgins vibe to the wide receiver position. Super long.
You don't ever compare him to Wingo. How do you compare him to Wingo from seeing him live?
A little bit leaner through the shorts, but otherwise very similar. And I think Wingo's a little more dynamic with the ball in his hand, like after the catch.
Yeah, it's fair enough. This guy 504 TD 100 saying, "LOL." Magic Texas claim they don't want to overpay when that's all they do. Boobie going to LSU, and everybody knows. So this is how y'all cope, huh? Well, look, 504. We definitely appreciate you being here, brother. We're not here to we're not here to cope. We're not the staff. We're just here to talk about it. But hey, while you're here, if you could please like the show and subscribe to the channel, and 504 TD 100. And the other nearly 700 of you guys watching concurrently between YouTube and X. If you guys ever do come to Austin from the 504, let me give you a hot tip. The best place to go get your liquor, your wine, spirits, and finer foods, it's by far Specs.
At Specs, it doesn't cost a lot to turn a good time into a great time, especially if you like saving money. From connoisseur collectors to aficionados of ale, you'll find bubbly bliss at any budget with a Texas-sized selection of world-class wines, rare spirits, craft beers, and more. So when you're getting ready for a good time, Specs is ready to make it great. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
Shout Specs, low priced, amazing. Here's to you, cheers to saving.
Oh, yes, of course. It's Football with Friends here on Orange Bloods Live. Alex Dunlap, Cody Carpentier. So pumped to be here with you guys. And if you're watching us live, thanks so much. If you're watching it like 99% of you that are going to watch later, thanks so much for being here. Of course, we're interacting with the chat. But if you would like us to take into consideration any thoughts that you might have watching the show later, please remember to email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. We keep an eye on that. And if you guys have suggestions for the show, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, if you have ideas about a segment or a theme, hit us up there, man. We'd love to hear your feedback. And that's where it is, fwfemails@gmail.com. I was at the Elite 11 camp, and I have some takeaways from that. As long as we're talking about Michael Brown committing to the Aggies, now there's probably going to be an Aggie in here that says that this is sour grapes. But he's small. Do you know what Rivals has him listed as? In any way? Is it Mike? Does he go by Michael or Mike Brown?
170.
Yeah. I mean, I would not be surprised if that's kind of a 170 kind of wet towel around him. 170. Not a super big guy. He's really clean, really, really good out of his breaks. And at the Elite 11 camp, there was an interesting so that was Saturday, and so there was an interesting exchange between him and Diabell, the Texas 2026 quarterback, who I saw. And look, Diabell is awesome, for one. But Diabell's like, "Come on, Mike, like just go commit, man, go commit." And he said something like, "Well, like tell Coach Jackson," or something like that, to where, I don't know those two guys well enough clearly to know kind of what they were talking about with that. But I wasn't sure if that was like, is that him saying like, tell Coach Jackson to accept a commitment, because he does have a Texas offer.
I mean, he was at a pool party last year.
He's
been to Texas twice.
So, like I said, I don't know. I don't know exactly what that means, but for what you can take away from that, It's just like that was an exchange that took place. He was kind of like he threw up his hands. He's like, well, tell Coach Jackson.
Actually, 4 times. I said 2. He's been here 4 times.
4 times
to Texas.
The one of the big takeaways I had, of course, so Diabell. Here's one takeaway that people like. This thing was at Del Valley High School. I haven't been out there since my wife used to work at Del Valley right when she got out of like college. We're talking getting close to like 20 years now, right? And I hadn't been over there since then. That was like a little hayseed, like, you know, bump in the road, kind of bad neighborhood. It was like I said, like this road is it's off of Ross Road, right off of, it's just, if you keep going past the airport east, it's like another, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles kind of out there by the Circuit of Americas. And I think that Circuit of Americas being out there kind of, I don't know, man, maybe there's more people moving out. I like their stadium that now is like awesome.
Like, I mean, they've had F1 there once or twice.
The Circuit of Americas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have all kinds of stuff. They have like, you know, they have like the Rolling Stones play there and stuff. So I think it's probably helping the economy over on that side of town. But anyway, so Del Valley, they actually have a cool stadium now. I'm not sure if their football program's any better, if the academics there have gotten better. But guys, I mean, the actual school it's a completely different deal. Diabell, so there was both 2026 and 2027 quarterbacks there. The two that were the obvious standouts to me were Diabell in 2026 and Keyshawn Henderson from 2026. I guess he's committed. He's a 5-star. And he's committed to, is it Houston?
Yeah, he's the top kid in the state.
Look, if we're just talking about it, if you were just to ask me from the pure perspective of who do you think is a better passer from the Elite 11, I'd say, dude, that's not even a question. It's Diabell, right? But with that being said, I understand that just your arm and your, you know, your velocity and just this stuff with the way the ball jumps off his hands. Super windy day, but just so consistent with his technique from rep to rep. Smooth mechanics. He's got the thing where you're just like, dude, Diabell looks very, very, very smooth. Where like his, you know, they talk about how, you know, about how sometimes you get to college and you have to work to get your you can get your feet connected to your timing, right? You need to get your feet connected to your timing with your drops and your drop steps and your release and all the rest of it. It's like it feels like all that stuff is just connected really well with Diabell. He's one of these guys that works pretty hard at it, I think. So more accurate than Keyshawn Henderson for sure. Throws a more catchable ball, better, just stuff like, you know, it's like a better spiral and stuff. It's just like a little bit different. So, but Keyshawn Henderson, clearly a super dynamic player. I think they should both be 5-stars.
So you think Diabell's just underrated? That was basically what you wrote up in your Orange Buds column I read.
Yeah, I think he's underrated.
That's fair.
And he's also bigger than I thought. You know? God, why do you send texts whenever you know I can't turn that off?
I always forget that you just leave your stuff on.
I don't know how to turn it off. I click this thing on the side to silence notifications.
Every time.
Yeah. Pay attention to the show. What are you sending text about?
I'm sorry, your favorite receiver in the draft just ran a 4.84 at the pro day, so I had to send the group chat. Xavier Restrepo from Miami.
My favorite. 4.84 is brutal. He didn't run at the combine, right?
No, he didn't. So he's just got this 4.84.
Oh,
that's gonna just neuter his whole
Restrepo. Oh, he's a dog, man. But he's not gonna be the dog that catches the car.
He's gonna
4.84 for Strep.
I had to send it. That's what I'm saying. See, I had to send it.
Oh, dude,
that's like some. I don't even know who to compare that. That's like some. Who was the tight end from A&M that just totally?
Oh God,
Weidermeyer. He ran a 5.0 or something like that. I was like, well, that's not going to happen.
2027 quarterbacks. Do you know what the craziest thing was? There was like 50 quarterbacks at this Elite 11, right? Diabell goes out there, gets an invite to Elite 11. Keyshawn Henderson gets an invite to Elite 11, right? And then I go out there and I'm telling Jason, I'm like, dude, the four best quarterbacks here are those two dudes throwing it to each other right now, which was Bell and Henderson. And it's these other two 2026 guys. This guy in this group, Peyton Houston, and this guy in this group, Malachi Ziegler, right? Regardless of class, these are the best. And it was funny at the end of the day, those two guys can't get Elite 11 invites because they're not 2026, right? But for the 2027 guys, they have an accuracy competition. And I was like, I can't choose which one I like really between Houston and Ziegler. They're both awesome. Ziegler is from Benton, Louisiana. Peyton Houston's from Shreveport, Louisiana. And in the accuracy competition, dude, these two sons of guns tie. So it's like there wasn't even like they tie for first. So it didn't make it any easier for me to walk out of there saying which one I liked better. But I will say, look, Texas has offered Peyton Houston. They are starting to sniff around Malachi Ziegler. It's a tough decision, man, and this could be wrong. But if I just had to base it only on the camp, I think I would take Malachi Ziegler. It's just his arm is outrageous. He can sling it. Standing. Just they do this stuff where they just like make him stand, stand without being able to take a step towards anything or whatever, and just stand flat-footed and throw it. And like his arms just crate. It's a windy day, dude. I'm talking 27, 28 mile per hour gusts. He just zips right through it. Much taller, much longer than Peyton Houston. High release point, just a hose, right? He's got a really good hose. But man, Peyton Houston, whenever they started doing stuff where the DBs and the wide receivers started showing up and you got to kind of throw the ball around to these guys, that's when like you're just like, oh my gosh, dude. Oh dear, my goodness. Like that was another just dime that Peyton Houston just dropped, where you didn't see it quite as much from Ziegler whenever that kind of stuff happened.
Ziegler's got the better build, right?
Much better. Much more just impressive when he walks around just from a physical standpoint.
Peyton Houston fits the Texas quarterback, the Diabell, KJ Lacey, Quinn Ewers build though.
And I mean, he puts like I said, Ziegler's got the hose. He's got the really good accuracy, great velocity and stuff. But man, like the placement of a Peyton Houston, like the stuff you can't put as much of a. I don't know. It's really those two guys are good. If Texas ends up with one of those two guys in 2027, it's like, well, forget about it. And there's also some interest in Phillip Rivers' kid too, right? So, I was hearing some of that as well. Although I did not get to see him, but Phillip Rivers apparently has a 2027 quarterback.
Ziegler was at Oklahoma last week. I had that in the Behind the Enemy Lines last week that he visited Oklahoma and they liked him. But man, I wrote it in your column. He just feels like he's a Red Raider.
Ziegler?
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
they got cash.
He's going to go somewhere better than that. Dude,
cash, man.
Dude, he has an Ole Miss offer. He'll just go to Ole Miss.
No. You go to Texas Tech and you take the bag and you throw for 60 touchdowns. What about Legend Bay?
Oh, dude. Well, dude, he's kind of a legend. He's the most fun guy to watch. So Legend Bay, he's from Texas. He was at the event. He's from Forney.
No ranking on Rivals.
2026. And just with him, he's just like one of these. I told Cody, I'm like, he reminds me of like a smaller Milrow. And Cody's like, that sounds like a Johnny Football. I'm like, well, that kind of sounds about right. He's just freewheeling types. Like sometimes he'll run around and just throw the ball like sidearm when he doesn't even have to. And sometimes it's 3-quarter delivery. And sometimes he'll just moonshot one with this, you know what I mean? Which is with the super high release point, but he's a smaller guy. But one of these guys who is like, before the wide receivers got there, these dudes have to kind of go catch from one another and stuff like that, or go stand in the back pylon. And the wind was gusting so bad and stuff. So some of his balls would gust high. His vertical is just outrageous. He's definitely one of these guys that can probably do a bunch of he could. I guarantee you, he can do like a standing backflip, and you know what I'm saying, like this kind of dude, right? And it's just though you look at him, you're like, you never know what you're going to get with him, and I think that might be a little bit of a concern. But dude, he's got a hammer of an arm, and the other thing I just liked is that he just had a bunch of fun with it. He would just break off from the quarterbacks and go run over with the wide receivers and just go run routes for the quarterbacks and be really sick. And then after that, he would be jabbing with the wide receivers and stuff. And he was getting into a little jab with the wide receiver. And then he lined up as a DB to guard to guard that wide receiver that he was having that little jabbing stuff with. So Legend Bay, man, from Forney, he's kind of a legend. I like him. He's only a 3-star, but I wrote in my column, dude, I'm like, look at his offer list.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me that that's a 3-star offer. Do you have his profile pulled up?
Well, I was going to say, when you pull up his profile, he doesn't have a ranking, but like the future casts for him is TCU and West Virginia, which when you think about everything you just explained to me, I think of both of those schools plus Johnny Manziel. He's got an official visit plan for Notre Dame in June. He's got an offer from A&M, Oklahoma, Arizona State, who loves their Texas kids. He's got an offer from Georgia, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Oregon, everything.
How's he a 3-star?
3-star. Because you know how it is. People don't like Boobie Feaster, man. What do you think they think of Legend Bay?
Oh, dude, and before we get out, dude, I got to give a shout out to my guy that's about to blow up. You've never heard of him, Texas, but if I were in charge of handing out offers, I would have offered this guy if I was Texas at this event. It's a 2027 defensive end. His name is Ezekiel Ayingbile. Ezekiel Ayingbile. He's from Langham Creek. Just outstanding. What impressed me was his it was interesting to see how some of these guys, man, couldn't rush, man. Like Isaiah Broughton, Vernon Broughton's brother was there, and it's like, you're just like you love the guy, and whatever, and you could tell he's Vernon Broughton's brother just because he's big. He's bigger than Vernon, but he can't move like him. But he's got those skinny kind of lower calves and stuff, just like Vernon Broughton. It's just whenever you just look and you realize, okay, this is a 2027 player who I found out later has just transitioned to defensive end. He played tight end before. He's put on a whole lot of lean muscle mass over the course of the last year. But you look at him, and he's 6'3", 265, going into his junior season, only has his sophomore year of tape. He plays at Langham Creek as a 3-4 defensive end, which, having played that position myself, I know it's one of the most thankless positions on defense. All you get to do is 2-gap all the time. You never get to pin your ears back. And, it's just you press off the tackle and you look inside the B gap, you diagnose C gap, and you're responsible for both of them. It's like it's hard to make splash plays, but even if you watch the film, first year playing it, sophomore, he's just like good, awesome huddle. But it wasn't just there. It was just like, man, I'm like, dude, he's technical. He's got something to him, right? I'm just like, dude, the way he can convert and the way that he can utilize just really, really good feet for such a big dude. He played tight end. He's got really good feet, but like the way his feet are connected, sort of in the same way I was just talking about with the quarterback, where you can see their feet connected with their delivery. It's like his feet are connected seamlessly through his rips and his like swims and swats and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't ever get overextended on this stuff. And I'm just like, man, I was talking to his coach. I'm like, he moves really well, man. He's like, yeah, he put on some weight. He's actually Dwayne Brown's son. And I go, and Cody's like, dude, that's Dwayne Brown's kid. And I didn't put it together until Cody texted it to me, because it just kind of went over my head. And I was like, oh, wait, you mean that's like, you're talking about the Dwayne. He was talking about the Dwayne Brown from the Texans. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, this guy looks like Tarzan, plays like Tarzan. His dad's Dwayne Brown. He's got 3 offers.
He's coming.
He's got 3 offers, and one of them he got in 8th grade from Virginia Tech just because his dad played there.
I think that the putting on 60 pounds deal is gonna. I mean, going into this,
it's not. Dude, he looks like he's chiseled out of oak. Like, it's not like he put on 60 pounds of eating Cheetos and stuff, Cody. He's like a V. I mean, I'm telling you, dude. I mean, this is just one. This one was too easy. This is too easy. We're
Tech,
gonna see the offers come in.
Tulsa, and Houston.
Yeah, Virginia Tech, Houston, and Tulsa are all that have offered the guy, but he's going back on his second visit to Alabama here pretty soon. LSU is trying to get him in. Now Ole Miss is apparently kind of getting in on this. Texas did go to one of his practices. I forgot if he said it was earlier in the spring or last year or something, but he said that he felt so bad because he was sick that day. And he just said, "Man, I didn't feel like I had my best practice." He's like, he kind of bummed about it. But he said, "Yeah, he said like people love to keep hearing from him." So I'm sure Texas will get back after him. So remember that name, Ezekiel Aying Bele.
Aying Bele.
Yeah, from Langham Creek, dude. His recruitment's gonna blow up. We're gonna talk like he's gonna be some kind of 4 or 5 star. Like once it's just wait on it. All right, Cody, you have one final thing before we get out.
Twas the night before spring ball. You get to attach your name to one non-expected starting player today that you want to drive the fan bus for in 2025.
That I think is gonna end up starting.
No. You just get to drive the fan bus for them in 2025, and you're willing to attach your name to them for the season today, the day before spring ball, before we see anything or hear anything. You're going to attach your name to them. It can be a Jarrett Gibson, a Parker Livingstone.
I'm aware that. So Parker's allowed.
I think you take Parker. I mean, Parker's he hasn't really done anything, so I think you can take Parker. I think Gibson's fair game. I think Brandon Baker's fair game, Spencer Shannon, Jordan Washington, those types. Attach your name to somebody that you're going to drive the fan bus for this year before anything happens at spring camp.
I think that Parker Livingstone is going to start, so I'm not going to say him.
Okay.
I'm saying Justice Terry driving the fan bus.
Going with the fan. Okay, okay. All right, I like that. I'm going to go I was thinking about going receiver and attaching to like one of the French or Lockett's. Lockett's your guy, so I'm not going to do it. Can I go Gibson? Is Gibson's not viewed as a starter? It's Wisner, right?
No, yeah.
All right, I'm going to go Jarrett Gibson. I think Gibson's going to have a monster spring camp with all these guys out and injured, and he's going to make it so Texas doesn't have to get a running back in the portal this spring.
Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can find Cody on X at Cody Carpentier. I'm Alex Dunlap, NFL. As always, man, we get in, we talk football, we get out, whether it's Texas, whether it's recruiting, whether it's SEC, NFL draft. We'd like to talk about it all because football with friends is indeed fun as hell. We're here every day from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time. So this is the one time that we'll ask you for 4 things. 1, please like the show. It helps us immensely. Please like the show. 2, please subscribe to the channel. That also helps us immensely. 3, if you think your friends would like this, man, just shoot them a text or shoot them a text with the link to the YouTube page and say, hey, man, I think you might like my dudes, Cody and Alex. Okay. 4, if you like the show and you're here and you don't want to bug your friends, that's fine. Just come back and watch us. Okay. The show's growing even in the off season, which is amazing. We can't thank you guys enough for it. All right. Big day tomorrow. Big day. Should be a big show, man. We're going to be pumped to bring it to you. All right. You guys have a great night tonight. We love you very much. God bless you. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.